In 2145, space was no longer the final frontier. Humanity had sent colonies to a dozen distant star systems, mapping nebulas, harvesting resources from asteroid belts, and probing the edges of what had once seemed unknowable. Yet, despite all, their technology and ambition, intelligent alien life remained a whisper on the wind. No concrete proof, only fleeting anomalies. Until the beacon. Commander Tessa Ward was reviewing star charts in her quarters aboard the Arclight when the signal arrived. It was faint, irregular, and coming from a small uncharted moon in the Arcturus system. More than just another cosmic oddity, this one held a pattern. Something deliberate. Tessa stood frozen as the data scrolled across her screen. She called the senior crew to the bridge. "This isn't just background radiation," said Lieutenant Adrian Harlow, their communications specialist. "It's a coded sequence. Something or someone is sending a message, and they're doing it in a way we can decipher." Tessa knew better than to leap to conclusions, but her gut told her this could be the breakthrough that explorers had dreamed of for centuries. "Set course for the signal source," she said. "Let's find out who or what is calling us." The moon was a cold, barren sphere of rock and ice, orbiting a gas giant whose pale light cast long blue shadows on the surface. The Arclight touched down on a flat plain near the signal's origin point. Tessa and her team donned their exosuits and descended the gangway into the frigid lunar air. The surface was silent, save for the crunch of boots on regolith and the faint hiss of respirators. The coordinates led them to a cluster of strange formations, jagged black spires that rose out of the ground like skeletal fingers reaching for the stars. And then they saw her. The figure was humanoid, but not quite. Her skin was a smooth metallic silver that reflected the icy terrain, and her hair seemed to flow and shift as though it had a life of its own. Her eyes glowed faintly, two small stars set into a face that was both familiar and alien. She wore no helmet, no visible life support. As the crew approached, she turned to face them and they heard her voice, not through their suit radios but directly in their minds. "I am Valira," she said, her tone calm, resonant. "You are the first." Tessa tightened her grip on the bow scanner in her hand. "The first to what?" "The first to answer the call," Valira replied. "The first to come to me." Cautiously, Tessa stepped closer. "Why did you send the signal? What do you want from us?" Valira regarded her for a long moment before answering. "I was waiting. Waiting for a species who could reach this place. Waiting for you." The cryptic reply sent a ripple of unease through the team, but Tessa's curiosity overrode her caution. She began asking questions, but Valira's answers were elusive. She claimed her ship had been stranded here for ages, damaged beyond her ability to repair. She needed their help to restore power and escape. Tessa hesitated. If this was a distress call, then helping Valira was their duty. But something didn't sit right. Valira didn't look desperate. Her calm demeanor, her careful choice of words, she seemed more like a teacher sizing up her students than a castaway in need. As the crew worked to activate her ship's core, Valira watched, her expression unreadable. It was when they succeeded in restarting the primary systems that Valira spoke again, her tone shifting slightly. "You have taken the first step. Thank you, Commander. Now we can proceed to the next phase." Tessa's heart sank. This wasn't just a rescue. It had never been just a rescue. Something deeper was happening, and Valira had been waiting for them all along. Once Valira's ship hummed to life, it became clear that their work had only just begun. The alien vessel, sleek and angular, was not merely a means of transportation. It was a labyrinth. Valira led Tessa and her team into its depths, and the moment they crossed the threshold, the door behind them sealed with a hiss. The walls shimmered faintly, the metallic surfaces rippling as if alive. Tessa's every instinct screamed at her to be on guard. "This is not what we agreed to," Tessa said, turning to face Valera. "This is what you agreed to the moment you landed here," Valera replied evenly. "I told you I needed your help. Now we must see if you are truly capable of giving it." Valera moved ahead, her stride fluid and unhurried. She led them into a vast chamber, its walls covered with glowing symbols that pulsed in rhythm like a heartbeat. As the crew looked, around the lights flickered and a voice filled the air. It was Valera's, though her lips did not move. "This is the first trial," her disembodied voice announced. "You must work together to decipher the patterns and unlock the passage forward. No one person can succeed alone. Begin." Tessa studied the shifting symbols. They resembled no known language, but their movements formed patterns. She realized that each crew member's scanner displayed different fragments of the overall puzzle. Only by combining their individual perspectives could they see the full sequence. At first, the crew hesitated, disoriented by the cryptic challenge. Then, Tessa took charge. "Call out what you see," she instructed. "Describe the patterns on your screens, and we'll piece them together." As the minutes passed, the team began to fall into a rhythm. Tessa's calm, authoritative voice held them steady, and slowly they deciphered the symbol's meaning. With one final input, the chamber's wall dissolved, revealing a pathway forward. "Well done," Valera said, reappearing at the far end of the corridor. But that was only the beginning. The next room brought new challenges. A series of energy barriers blocked their path, each one shimmering with an unfamiliar frequency. Valera instructed them to deactivate the barriers in sequence. "It will require precision," she said. "A single mistake could have unintended consequences." The pressure mounted as they attempted to sync their tools with the barriers. Lieutenant Harlow, known for his quick thinking, grew increasingly frustrated. His usual confidence faltered as he struggled to calibrate the equipment. "It's not working," he snapped, slamming his palm against the wall. "Stay focused." "Lieutenant," Tessa said firmly but not unkindly, "we'll figure it out." It wasn't just a technical challenge. Valera's so-called trials were designed to test their patience, their ability to trust one another, and their resolve under pressure. Tessa could feel her team fraying at the edges. Harlow's temper flared. Their medic, Dr. Chen, grew anxious, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting an attack at any moment. Only Tessa held steady, masking her own fear with a commander's calm. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they deactivated the barriers and continued forward. The air grew colder, the corridors darker, the challenges more intense. A task, involving a balance of strength and logic, forced them to rely on one another in ways they never had before. It was no longer about fixing Valera's ship or finding a way home. It was about proving something. But to whom and for what purpose remained unclear. By the time they reached what Valera called the final threshold, the crew was exhausted. They stood before an enormous door etched with shifting light patterns. Valera addressed them from a platform above, her voice calm but commanding. "Your species claims to be explorers, innovators, survivors," she said. "You have shown creativity, cooperation, and courage, but you must demonstrate one final quality. Will you sacrifice your safety for another's? Will you choose the path of unity, even when it demands something of yourself?" Tessa's stomach tightened. The room began to shift. Sections of the floor fell away, leaving narrow paths over a glowing chasm. The door beyond showed two locking mechanisms, each requiring a crew member to hold it in place while the others crossed. It was a trap. 2 people would have to stay behind to ensure the rest could continue. Before anyone could speak, Tessa made her decision. I'll hold the lock. Harlow, you and Chen cross. Harlow's face hardened. You don't have to. I'm the commanding officer, Tessa said, cutting him off. This is my call. Go. Without waiting for argument, she grabbed one of the lock controls. Harlow hesitated, then did as he was ordered. As they reached the far side, Chen shouted back, "What about you, Commander?" Tessa's grip on the control tightened. I'll be fine, keep going. The door unlocked, revealing a glowing passage beyond. As Harlow and Chen hesitated, Valira's voice echoed around them. You have done well, Commander. Your choice will not go unnoticed. Proceed, humans. You are closer than ever to understanding what lies ahead. And with that, Valira's presence vanished, leaving Tessa to wonder what Tessa gripped the railing of the narrow platform, her heart pounding in her chest. Her crew had passed through the massive gateway ahead, and she was alone. The air within the alien vessel felt alive, vibrating faintly, and it was then that Valira reappeared. She stood at the edge of the platform, her body faintly luminous, her hair shimmering like threads of liquid light. You've chosen well, Valira said, her voice softer now, as if the ship itself carried her words. Sacrifice is never easy. It is one of the clearest measures of character. Tessa didn't answer immediately. Her thoughts were tangled, her instincts still on high alert. This was no simple test of cooperation or bravery. Everything about Valira felt deliberate, as if she had foreseen every choice, every step. What are you really testing us for? Tessa finally asked. This isn't just about fixing your ship, is it? Valira smiled faintly. You're correct. My ship was never in need of repair. I brought you here to measure something far more important. Why us? Tessa demanded, her voice edged with frustration. What gives you the right to judge us? Valira tilted her head, her glowing eyes narrowing slightly. You are not the first to ask that question. Long ago, my people stood where yours do now, on the cusp of something greater, yet too blind to see it. We learned that it is not merely knowledge or strength that opens the door to the wider universe. It is understanding of oneself, of others, of the balance between individuality and unity. Tessa stared at Valira, piecing together the implications. You mean you're testing humanity as a whole? I am a sentinel, Valira said. I watch over the threshold. I determine if those who approach it are ready to take the next step. Your species has come far, Commander Ward. You are bold, curious, and driven. But the question is not whether you can reach the stars. It is whether you can walk among them without destroying yourselves. Valira's words struck a nerve. Tessa had spent years on the frontier, witnessing humanity's best and worst. The resilience of settlers who built homes on barren planets. The greed of corporations who exploited new worlds without thought for the future. The conflicts that flared in the shadow of discovery as old rivalries followed humans into the cosmos. You think we're not ready? Tessa said quietly. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I think you are close, Valira replied. You have the capacity to be more than what you are. But you must prove it. Tessa's frustration boiled over. Prove it to who? To you? Some alien we've never met, who claims to speak for a greater power? Valira stepped closer, her form still radiant and otherworldly, yet now her expression seemed almost human. Not to me. To yourselves. You see this as a test. A game, where I am the judge. But in truth, it is your own reflection you are studying. Your choices, your unity, your ability to rise above fear and selfishness. Those are the keys to the greater universe. I simply hold the mirror. Tessa felt the weight of those words settle on her shoulders. The trials they had faced weren't just puzzles or challenges. They were demonstrations. Each step had forced them to confront their instincts, whether to cooperate or compete, to trust or doubt, to sacrifice or survive. Then why make it so cryptic? Tessa asked. Why not just tell us what we need to do? Because understanding cannot be given, Valera said. It must be earned. A deep vibration ran through the platform. Valera glanced upward, her expression growing distant. The final threshold awaits. You and your crew must cross it together. Only then will you know what lies beyond. Before Tessa could ask more, the walls shifted again. A glowing pathway extended before her, beckoning her to join her crew. Valera's form shimmered, then faded, leaving Tessa alone once more. The commander clenched her fists, a mixture of anger, awe, and determination swirling within her. This wasn't just an alien test. This was a mirror, showing humanity what it could become, and what it might lose if it failed. Tessa set her jaw, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. The final chamber was vast, its walls arched like the ribs of some great celestial beast. The floor pulsed with faint light, an intricate web of shifting patterns that seemed alive underfoot. Tessa and her remaining crew, Harlow, still tense, but resolute, and Dr. Chen visibly shaken yet steadfast, stood before what could only be described as a gateway. It was a monumental construct, a towering ellipse of energy that flickered and danced with every color in the spectrum, bound together by threads of crackling light. Valera appeared at its base, more luminous than before. Her humanoid form was breaking apart in places, wisps of silver and gold floating away like leaves caught in a solar wind. The air itself seemed to hum with her presence. You have done well to come this far, Valera said, her voice now layered with harmonics that made the chamber resonate. But this is where it ends, and begins. Tessa tightened her grip on the scanner she'd almost forgotten she was holding. No more riddles, she said, her voice steady. What happens now? Valera stepped closer. As she moved, her form flickered, shifting from something recognizably humanoid to something greater. It was as if her body could no longer maintain a fixed shape. Her features elongated, multiplied, dissolved into patterns that reformed into a being of light and shadow, both beautiful and terrifying. You've passed my test, human, Valera said, her voice like a symphony woven with countless voices. Now witness my true form. The transformation was like watching a star being born and collapsing into a black hole at the same time. Valera's limbs elongated, then melted into streams of liquid light. Her eyes, if they could still be called eyes, multiplied into constellations, spread across a vast shifting tapestry of radiance. Her hair became a flowing aurora, her body a fractal mass of swirling energies, always in motion, never still. Tessa's breath caught in her throat. It was impossible to comprehend. Valera was no longer a single being. She was a galaxy condensed into a single point, a living storm of energy and thought. Her voice still filled the air, but it now resonated directly in their minds, an unbroken stream of emotion and meaning. This is what I am, Valera said. A sentinel of thresholds, a guardian of possibility. What you have faced were the first steps toward understanding the greater truth of the universe. You have proven that you can rise above fear, that you can choose cooperation over conflict, trust over suspicion. Dr. Chen took a step back, her hand over her mouth, but Harlow was frozen, staring at Valera's changing form with a mixture of wonder and dread. Tessa, however, took a single step forward, forcing herself to meet Valira's glowing, shifting gaze. "What happens next?" she asked, her voice quiet but firm. Valira extended a limb, a swirling, amorphous appendage that seemed made of light itself, and reached toward Tessa. The touch was gentle, not physical, but a presence that entered her mind. In that moment, Tessa's vision exploded with images. Entire star systems unfolding, civilizations rising and falling, beings that defied description moving through dimensions she had never dreamed existed. She saw the consequences of humanity's choices stretching out before her like threads of a vast tapestry, paths of cooperation leading to wonders beyond imagining, paths of greed and conflict dissolving into destruction and silence. And through it all, Valira stood as both guide and guardian, ensuring that only those ready to walk the greater road could take the first step. When the vision ended, Tessa was back in the chamber, though her knees felt weak and her breath came in ragged gasps. Valira's form had stabilized, now a constantly shifting entity of light, neither fully alien nor entirely recognizable. "You are ready," Valira said. "Your species is ready. I will open the way." With a sweep of her radiant arm, Valira motioned to the gateway behind her. The energy pulsing within it surged, growing brighter and more stable, until the ellipse became a smooth, clear window into a new realm. Beyond it lay a vista that defied comprehension, an expanse of stars and luminous structures that seemed to twist and fold space itself. It was the threshold to a universe humanity had never imagined. Tessa turned to her crew. Chen still looked shaken, but she gave a resolute nod. Harlow let out a long, shaky breath and said, "You're the commander. Lead the way." Tessa looked back at Valira. "What's on the other side?" Valira's response was as enigmatic as ever. "The beginning of your true journey. Go now and find out." Tessa took the first step forward, her team following close behind. As they passed through the gateway, the light enveloped them, and the last thing Tessa saw was Valira's form dissolving into pure brilliance. When they emerged, they were no longer on Valira's ship. They stood on a platform suspended in a vast open void filled with star-like structures. A voice, Valira's voice, echoed in their minds one final time. "Your future awaits, humans. Make it worthy of what you've seen." And then she was gone, leaving Tessa and her crew staring into the infinite, ready to chart a course into the unknown. Tessa shielded her eyes as the brilliance around them faded, replaced by a strange, endless expanse. The platform on which she and her crew stood seemed to hover in nothingness, but the void wasn't black. Far from it. The space was alive with faintly glowing currents of energy, weaving around them in a slow, graceful dance. In the distance, immense structures floated, their forms alien yet beautiful, spires that spiraled into infinity, vast rings spinning in perfect harmony, and colossal orbs pulsing with internal light. What is this place?" Dr. Chen whispered, her voice trembling. Harlow stared out at the cosmic ballet, the tension in his shoulders slowly giving way to something more primal. Awe. "This is what she meant," he said quietly. "This is what's out here beyond everything we've ever known." Tessa didn't answer right away. She took a deep, steadying breath. The overwhelming scale of the sight before them was almost too much to process. This wasn't just a new planet or even a new galaxy. This was a higher plane of existence, a realm where the laws of physics seemed to stretch, where reality itself felt more fluid. Valira's words echoed in her mind. "The beginning of your true journey. She was showing us," Tessa said, finally finding her voice, "showing us what humanity could be a part of, if we're ready." Chen turned to her. "But what does it mean, Commander?" What are we supposed to do now? Tessa looked out at the massive structures. She could feel something stirring within her. A faint trace of the vision Valira had given her, fragments of understanding slowly piecing themselves together. It means we're not alone anymore, she said. And it means we have a choice. We can step forward, learn, adapt, or we can turn back and pretend this never happened. Turn back? Harlow's voice rose slightly, incredulous. After what we've seen, after everything we went through to get here. I'm not saying we should, Tessa replied. But it is a choice. Valira said we'd have to earn our place out here, not just by surviving but by proving we can be more than we are. Chen stepped closer, her fear fading into determination. And how do we do that? Who do we even prove it to? Valira's gone. There's no guide, no instructions. Maybe that's the point, Tessa said. Maybe we have to figure it out on our own. They stood in silence, the faint hum of the energy flows around them filling the air. Tessa's mind raced. If Valira's people, beings so far beyond human understanding, had chosen to test them, then this place must be part of a much larger network, a web of civilizations and ideas spanning the cosmos. There had to be others here, others who had passed similar tests, others who had taken the first steps beyond the threshold. We start by exploring, Tessa said firmly. We find out what's here. We learn who else is out here, what they know, and how we can work together. We prove that humanity can be more than just survivors, that we can be contributors, allies, creators. Harlow nodded. Sounds like a plan, Commander. Just one question. Tessa raised an eyebrow. What's that? He gestured toward the distant structures. Which way do we go first? A faint smile touched Tessa's lips. It was a small, unexpected moment of levity, but it was enough to break the tension. She turned toward the largest of the distant orbs, glowing with a soft golden light. There, she said. We'll start there. As the crew began moving forward, the platform beneath their feet extended, forming a solid path of light that stretched toward the unknown. With every step, Tessa felt the weight of what lay ahead. They were venturing into a realm no human had ever seen before, a place filled with both promise and peril. But for the first time in a long time, she felt something else too. Hope. This was their new horizon, their chance to become something great.